Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will talk about the ischium, the third part of the hip bone. If you have not subscribed my channel, then please subscribe it because we bring very interesting and informative videos for the MBBS students. So let's start with the video. So the ischium forms the posterior inferior part of the hip bone. So this is the ischium and the adjoining 2/5 of the acetibulum. As you can see, this is the acetibulum. It forms the 2/5 of the acetibulum. It forms the posterior boundary of the obturator foramen. So this is the obturator foramen, and as you can see, it is in the posterior side. Okay. The ischium has a body and a ramus. So this is the body of the ischium and this is the ramus. Okay. Next, the body of the ischium. This is a thick and mass of bone that lies below and behind the acetibulum. As you can see, this is the body and it lies below the acetibulum and it has two ends. This is the upper end, this is the upper end, and this is the lower end. Okay, and then there are three borders: anterior border, posterior border, and lateral border. Okay, so I will talk about the borders later. So again, there are three surfaces: femoral surface, dorsal surface, and pelvic surface. Now, first let me come to the ends. So as I said you, there are two ends, upper end and the lower end. So this is the upper end, forms the posterior inferior 2/5 of the acetibulum. As you can see, 2/5 of the acetibulum is formed by the upper part of the ischium. The ischium, ilium, and the pubis fuse with each other in acetibulum. I have said it before. Now next, the lower end forms the ischial tuberosity. Okay, and it gives off the ramus of the ischium, which forms the acute angle with the body. So this is the acute angle of the body. This is the ramus of the ischium. So the both of them, it forms the lower end of the ischium. Okay, now let me come into the borders. So as I said, there are three borders. First of all, anterior border, it forms the posterior margin of the obturator foramen. So this will be the anterior border forming the posterior boundary of the obturator foramen. Now next to the posterior border is continuous above with the posterior border of the ilium. Okay, so this is the posterior border of the ilium. So it is continuous with the posterior border of the ilium. So this is the posterior border. Okay, and below it ends at the upper end of the ischial tuberosity. So this is the ischial tuberosity, this big mass. So this is the posterior border ends here. Okay, and it also forms the part of the lower border of the greater sciatic notch. So this is the greater sciatic notch. I have said you before. So this is the greater sciatic notch. So below the notch, the posterior margin shows a projection. So here, as you can see very clearly, here is a projection. Okay, so this projection is known as ischial spine. Okay, now this is the greater sciatic notch, this is the ischial spine. Below the spine, the posterior border shows a concavity called as the lesser sciatic notch. So this is the lesser sciatic notch. Okay, this one is the lesser sciatic notch. You have to, if you have to trace the posterior border, you have to say that it starts from the posterior border of the ilium where it ends. So from here, then to the greater sciatic notch, then to the ischial spine, and then to the lesser sciatic notch. So this all are the continuation of the posterior border. Okay. Now next, we'll talk about the lateral border. So this is the lateral border, you have to know, forms the lateral margin of the ischial tuberosity. So this is the ischial tuberosity. So this is the lateral border of the ischial tuberosity. So the lateral border of the ischial tuberosity is known as the lateral border, except that upper end where it is rounded. So excluding the upper end, this part is called as the lateral border. So I hope the border is clear to you. Now moving into the three surfaces. So there are three surfaces: femoral surface, dorsal surface, and pelvic surface. So femoral surface. Femoral surface lies between the anterior and the lateral border. So this is the anterior border, I said you. This one is the anterior border and this one is the lateral border. So this is the femoral surface. The dorsal surface is continuous above with the gluteal surface of the ilium. So this is the gluteal surface of the ilium. If you have not watched the video of the ilium, please go and check it out. I will put the link in the description box, even in the I button. So this is the gluteal region of the ilium. So it is continuous with the ilium, and it is between the from above downward, it presents a convex surface adjoining the acetibulum and wide shallow groove and the upper part of the ischial tuberosity. So it contributes the upper part, even the ischial tuberosity upper part. Okay, so this part is called as the dorsal surfaces. The ischial tuberosity, as you can see, this is the, I said you this rounded part is the ischial tuberosity. Now ischial tuberosity, you have to know it very nicely because it gives the attachment of the hamstring muscles. Okay, so this is the ischial tuberosity. Now ischial tuberosity is divided by a transverse ridge. So if you can see very properly, so here like this, it is there is a transverse ridge which divides and makes it a upper half and a lower half. Okay, now the upper area is again subdivided into an oblique line. Okay, again an oblique line separates the upper end. Okay, and it forms the superior lateral area and the inferior medial area. So what are the superior lateral area and inferior medial area? Okay, the lower end is subdivided into longitudinal ridge. Again, the longitudinal ridge divides it, and the lower area gets subdivided by the longitudinal ridge into upper and the inner area. So there will be an there will be an outer area and there will be an inner area. Okay, so this ischial tuberosity. This division you have to remember. Okay, now moving into the pelvic surface. The pelvic surface is a smooth and formed part and forms the part of the lateral wall of the true pelvis. So it will be inside because true pelvis lateral wall means this side. So this will be your pelvic surfaces inside. Okay, this will be your lateral surface. So these are the surfaces which you have to know, and the borders also you have to know. Now let us talk about the conjoint ischiopubic ramus. So this is the ischiopubic ramus. Okay, I am showing you from here. This is the ischiopubic ramus. The ramus of the ischium and the pubic ramus, inferior rami of the pubis. Okay, they form the conjoint ischiopubic ramus. The inferior ramus of the pubis. So this is the pubis inferior ramus. It unites with the ramus of the ischium on the medial side of the obturator foramen, as you can see, and the site of union is marked by the localized thickening. So you can see, if you touch your bone, so you can see there is a localized thickening of the bone. So from here you can correctly see that there is a thickening of the bone. Okay, the site of union may be marked by the localized thickening, and the conjoint rami have two border. So it have two border, upper border and lower border, and it has two surfaces, inner surface. So inner surface will be inside and there will be an outer surface above in the femoral part. Okay, so upper border forms the part of the margin of the obturator foramen, as you can see, and the lower border forms the pubic arch along with the corresponding border of the bones of the opposite side. So if you think of a bone of opposite side pelvis, so there will be an union, and there will be an union. Okay, and it will form a arch type. Now next, there are two surfaces, inner and outer surfaces. Inner surface means inside. See this one, it is in convex and smooth, and it is divided into areas upper, medial, lower by two ridges. Okay, and the outer surface, this one is rough for the attachment of the muscles. So here will be attachment of many muscles. Okay, now let us move into the attachment and relations of the ischium. First, let's talk about the ischial spine. So this is the spine of the ischium. Okay, so there will be an attachment of the sacrospinous ligament along its margin. So along its margin, sacrospinous ligament will be there. Origin for the posterior fiber of the levator ani forms its pelvic surface, and its dorsal surface is crossed by the pudendal nerve and the internal pudendal vessels, and by the nerve to the obturator internus. So all this thing, that is the levator ani, posterior fiber, the pudendal nerve, the internal pudendal vessels, so everything will be in relation with the ischial spine. So the greater sciatic, in the lesser sciatic notch, this one is occupied by the tendon of the obturator internus. Okay, and there is a bursa deep to the tendon. The notch is lined by the hyaline cartilage. Okay, and the upper and the lower margin of the notch gives origin to the superior and the inferior gemelli respectively. So here will be the attachment of the lesser sciatic notch. Now next, The femoral surface of the ischium, so this is the femoral surface of the ischium. So in the femoral surface of the ischium gives origin to the obturator externus, because obturator externus will be around the obturator foramen. Okay, the quadratus femoris along the lateral border of the upper part of the ischial tuberosity. So this is the ischial tuberosity, the lateral part, you will get the quadratus femoris muscle. The dorsal surface of the ischium has the following relationships. What are the following relationships? The upper convex area related to the piriformis, piriformis, sciatic nerve, and the nerve to the quadratus femoris. In the attachment of the ischial tuberosity. This ischial tuberosity attachment, you have to know it very carefully, because there will be attachment of all the hamstring muscles. Okay, so the superior lateral part means this part, there will be the semi-membranosus muscle. So semi-membranosus will be attached here. In the inferior medial part area, there will be attachment of the semi-tendinosus. Okay, now next, the outer lower area to the adductor magnus. So outer area there will be adductor magnus, and the inner lower area there will be a fibrofatty tissues which supports the body weight in sitting positions. Okay, so this all are the attachment for the hamstring muscles. So read it carefully. Now next, the sharp medial margin of the tuberosity gives attachment to the sacrotuberous ligament. So here will be the attachment of the sacrotuberous ligament. The lateral border of the ischial tuberosity provides the attachment for the ischiofemoral ligament just below the acetibulum. Just below the acetibulum, here will be the attachment of the ischiofemoral ligament. Okay, now the greater part of the pelvic surfaces, means here inside is the ischium gives origin to the obturator internus. So inside there will be obturator internus, and outside there will be the obturator externus. And next, the lower end of this surfaces forms the part of the lateral wall of the ischial fossa. So inside, as I said, it forms the lateral wall of the true pelvis. So it forms in the lateral wall. There is an attachment of the ischial fossa. Now, the attachment in the conjoint pubic rami, in the conjoint rami. So here, okay, so there will be the attachment of the in the upper border. There will be obturator membrane, and the lower border provides the attachment to the fossa lata and to the membranous layer of the superficial fossa of the collis fossa. So there will be the collis fossa and fossa lata, and above there will be the obturator membrane. Okay, now next, this muscle taking origin from the outer surface. So from the outer surface, obturator externus, as I said you, adductor brevis, and in the pubic ramus, and gracilis in the pubic ramus, and even adductor magnus, chiefly in the ischial ramus. So this all will be attached here. The attachment of the inner surface, you will get the perineal membrane, the obturator internus, the deep transversus perini, and the superficial transversus perini. So all the muscles will be attached here. Okay, now next, a little about the acetibulum and the obturator foramen. The acetibulum is a cup-shaped spiral cavity on the lateral aspect of the hip bone about its center, and is directed laterally downward forward. As said, you have to hold this in the anatomical position. The margin of the acetibulum is deficient inferiorly, and this deficiency is called as the acetibular notch. So this is the acetibular notch. Okay, because as you can see, this is not joined together. Okay, now it is bridged by the transverse ligament. So transverse ligament will be like this, and it will form a bridge. Okay, now next, the non-articular roughened floor is called as the acetibular fossa. So this is the acetibular fossa, and the horseshoe-shaped articular surface or the lunar surface is seen on the anterior, superior, and the posterior part of the acetibulum. It is lined by the hyaline cartilage and articulates with the head of the femur to form a hip joint. So as I said you that the femur like this, it will be attached here. I will make a separate video for the hip joint, and in the following there will be hyaline cartilage attachment. Okay. Now obturator foramen. As you can see, this is a large gap of in the hip bone situated anterior inferior to the acetibulum below the pubis, between the pubis and the ischium, and it is a large and the oval in male and small and triangular in female. So you can understand this by seeing the bones that it is a male pubic or male hip bone or a female hip bone. By that large and oval shaped in the male you have, smaller and triangular in the female you have. and it is closed by the obturator membrane. So you don't think that it will be open like this. It will be closed by the obturator membrane, which is attached to its margin. Okay, except at the obturator groove, where the obturator vessels and the nerves passes out of the pelvis. So there will be a space that is called as the obturator groove, from where the obturator nerve and vessels will pass through it. So this all are the attachment of the ischium. The important thing you have to know about the ischium bone, that attachment in the ischial tuberosity. This is very important and you have to know this. Okay, so I have completed the part 1, part 2 and part 3 saying about the ilium, ischium and the pubis. So if the video was a little helpful to you, then please hit the like button, comment below, share with your friends and subscribe my channel, and also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Telegram. Thank you.